City Council meeting of January 15, 2019 has come to order. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? And Supervisor Espinoza, would you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance? Everyone ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead, please.
All right, this is going to be for our law enforcement, overall first responders and military that passed in the line of duty. Unfortunately, I believe as of today, there's been 7 law enforcement officers and that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. So we can give a moment of silence for them. You can join me now. Thank you.
May I have roll call, please?
Okay, roll call. Councilmember Baptista.
Present.
Councilmember Aguilar.
Present.
Councilmember King.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Present.
Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, all council members, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor are in attendance here today.
Closed session announcements. There are no reportable actions. Direction was given to staff. Council, changes to the agenda at this time? Staff?
No changes.
Okay, if not, then we'll move on to announcements and reports, and we'll start out with Supervisor Espinoza.
There we go now. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Well, I'd just like to state that, I didn't know, but I saw my niece's Facebook page. My niece, my older brother's, one of his daughters is a police officer in Sacramento. She just became a police officer, and so she passed the academy, and sadly with her friend, the one that got shot in Sacramento, the one with the picture with the blue dress and all that, that was her friend. They went through the post academy, and so that's pretty sad to say that she, it could have been her, it could have been my niece, could have been any officer. So yeah, thank you for praying, and God keep our police officers and all our first responders safe, because in any job it's very dangerous out there. I was when I had my towing company, I always had to respond for backup to the first responders with my tow company. So I understand and all that the danger that's out there. So thank you. Today on the board, we had a board of supervisors meeting, and I got appointed vice chair of the board of supervisors, with Supervisor Lloyd Pereira being the chair. So next year, hopefully, I'll be the chair of the Board of Supervisors in Merced County. Well, I just want to report that I was invited to the Well Untapped conference in LA. It's a 6 months course that Council Member Alex McCabe was the first one to do last year, and I don't know if he completed it, but it's a 6 months where we have to go through a group of about 15 that got invited to participate, after interviews, and this year's course is second, and we get to travel through different watersheds throughout California, and we'll be developing our knowledge of statewide and regional water policy while sharpening our public leadership skills. The group mostly from Southern California, and some of us from the Valley, we're making sure that we get educated, and especially regarding the tunnels, regarding the Delta, and how important it is that we, especially when we're in our group, and most of the members are from Southern California, that we educate them on how it's going to affect us, how it's going to affect the all the Bay Area and especially the Delta area. And of course, they want the water. A lot of the aqueduct water goes down to Southern California, and it's not about fighting. And if it comes to that, we're going to have to, but at least we all have to work together and cooperate on how to best share, our water, future water. So I know that it's a new goal in California and everywhere. So it's better to be educated, and at least they know when they go back and talk to the representatives, state representatives, that when they go to Sacramento, they know how we feel here in California, and especially here in Merced County and our local regions, how when they're taking some of our water, that it's going to be deeply affected, especially. And since I was the only farmer there on the group, so I made them aware of how impactful it's going to be for the local farmers. So it just, it was a good weekend. You develop camaraderie with everyone there, and mayors, council members, water board members. It's just a good program. That's just a 1 year, 6 month, what they call it, the 6 month course, but 1 week in a month, and then they have the annual conference. The annual conference, I'd just like to remind the council members here that everyone's invited. It's a water education for Latino leaders, but if you live if you're an elected in California, water board member, council member, mayor, and school board member, you're representing Latinos, so everyone's available can go, and especially it's a nonprofit, and they'll pay for the city doesn't have to pay, or the municipality doesn't have to pay. They pay for that, and you get educated on water. So I think I already addressed it to all the rest of the supervisors. I don't know if Maria, I don't think I told you about that, but I'll make sure that I email you guys the email. That way you guys, if you guys want to sign up, and it's free. And March 28th and 29th, and it'll be at the Queen Mary in Long Beach in March. So other than that, also too, I have I would like to present Rene Gutierrez, who's with the Ultimate Corridor Express and the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, Rene Gutierrez. And if you want to stand up, please. Rene sent me an email asking if I wanted to donate some tickets for some youth kids that were fourth graders out of Oneida. And I gratefully said I would donate, and I donated, I don't know how many kids, about 20? 24 kids. And so they were able to go to Lodi and go through a tour of, what museum was it? World of Wonders Museum in Lodi, along with the principal, and they had a great time. But they went in the train. They came back, they were videotaped, and so they just had a wonderful time, and on the way over there and on the way back, and to show them how nicely it is to promote the 8th train, the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, and which is the San Joaquins. So they had a wonderful experience. And so the other day he called me. I wasn't able to go that day, but he called me the other day, and I went to Oneida, and they showed me the video, how much fun the kids had, and that's just what it is for the kids to have fun. Plus, they get educated on the train, and they'll remember, because we're trying to promote the train for more people to use the train, and it's just a wonderful experience. So I just wanted to present Rene because hopefully the next meeting he'll be bringing the video back. We'll show it up here, and so I think that it'll be good. He wasn't able to do today because I called him on short notice, but hopefully, we'll be able to do it next week, next meeting. So I think that's all I got, unless you have any questions.
Council, any questions of Supervisor? If not, do you wish to open to the public for questions?
Yeah, any questions from the public for me, or from the county, or from the city? If they can't answer, I'll try to answer. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. City Clerk, Mr. Silva, you have anything to report? Thank you. Chief.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I did have a presentation, but unfortunately my thumb drive kind of froze up and I wasn't able to load it up, so I'll present it the next. It's the annual update from our department as far as statistics and calls for service, response times, things like that, so I apologize for that. But I did want to thank the supervisor, the Officer Moreno from Davis Police Department. Her memorial service will be this Friday at UC Davis at the ARC Center at 11 o'clock and is open to the public. After they'll have the funeral at a nearby cemetery. So we did attend our police department. We had about 10 employees attend the funeral for Corporal Singh, and very moving, very, very well attended from throughout the country. There was actually a very large Sikh officer association that came from New York PD, and then some Canadian mounted police as well, so it was well attended. So I appreciate the comments, and Councilmember Garcia, again, thank you for your thoughts. Be happy to answer any questions this time.
Does anybody have any questions for Chief? Jose, I believe you do.
Yes, Chief. One of our council members, of course, was concerned about, I mean, just like all of us, about a lot of officers' deaths and shootings. And there were some questions specifically about, our officers, when they're patrolling, are they patrolling with a partner? Are they, patrolling on their own? And maybe you might want to elaborate a little bit further to ask the chief.
I was wondering, on graveyard shifts, how many patrol officers do we have?
Well, there's usually at least 2 officers that are on duty at all times, and many times there's up to it could be up to 8 officers, depends on what shift they are. But we do have at least 2 officers that are on duty at any given time. Usually during the day, because we have a sergeant, or I'm sorry, a corporal, an officer. Then there's myself and admin staff and SROs. So during the day, we could easily have 8, but at least 2.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. We do. We do rely a lot on the Sheriff's Department and California Highway Patrol when things get a little bit busy. As you know, if we end up having to take somebody to jail, it might leave us a little bit short, but we rely on them for backup to help out, and they do a great job. So,
Thank you, Chief.
yeah, I do have a question for the mayor. But the 60 cents this month, is that going to be in the paycheck? Or no?
I may have to raise it to 70 so you can colorate.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Nice. Fire Department? No? I'll have to mix it up sometimes, keep everybody on their toes.
Well, Captain Bryan's getting his presentation ready. I did forget to mention one thing. The California Police Chiefs Association did assign me to the Community Services Division Committee for League of Cities. So next weekend I'll be attending Sacramento to hopefully provide some input for some of the things that address us as a community. One of the main topics that they discuss is homelessness, which seems to be creeping up in all the cities here in our county and throughout San Joaquin Valley. So those are things we're going to look at and address.
Yeah, while you're there, while they're queuing things up, find out are we allowed to, if we have a homeless person are we allowed to tell them to leave? Or because we have somebody that sleeps in our doorways here, Are they allowed to be on the public property like that, or?
Well, I mean, by our ordinance right now, that's not prohibited, but those are things that come up. Some legal questions come up, and I'm sure are.
Yeah, and that's, Mayor, if I can, that's something definitely we have been working with the police department, but as far as telling folks that are homeless, that are like sleeping, there was that Boise case recent, as you know, that makes it a little more difficult for cities to enforce camping, or what they used to call illegal camping ordinances. But we're definitely working with the police department as far as, what can be done, what can't be done, and making sure that, obviously, making sure that everybody's interests are taken care of.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, members of the public, City Council, Mayor. This is the Fire Department's annual report. I'd like to apologize. Chief had a family emergency. He was planning on being here, so the last minute he put this on me, which I'll do my best, but he has big shoes to fill, so. All right. So, oops. So last year in 2018, we ran 1,726 calls. This was up 101 calls, or 6% from 2017. The incidence in the city was 1,028, which was up 109 calls from the previous year, or 12%. And in the county, we actually went down 8 calls to 698 calls. PCF response to our incidents was 70%. 10% of the calls, they covered the station. And within our initial area, which is the city and the county, we had 70% of our calls were within our initial area. All right, incidents within the city last year, we had 830 medical aids, 14 of which were code blues. We had 17 vegetation fires. We had 59 accidents, 1 of which was a pin-in. We had 8 vehicle fires, 5 structure fires, 18 debris fires, 22 alarm soundings, 7 false alarms. We had 5 standbys. We had 29 public assist, and our hazardous material carbon monoxide alarm, we had 10, which we're actually starting to get more this year. So if you know anybody that's some of the housing that's getting 10, 12 years old, those alarms are normally made from 7 to 10 years, so they're starting to go out. And so even with replacing the battery, they'll still be going off, giving a lot of false readings. So if that's anybody's house here, I'd highly recommend you start changing to carbon monoxide alarms and smoke alarms. All right, calls come all together, both city and county. We had 1,052 medical aids, 19 code blues. We had 101 veg fires. We ran 258 vehicle accidents, 7 of which were pin-ins. We had 48 vehicle fires. We responded to 80 structure fires, 47 debris fires, 59 alarm soundings. We had 22 false alarms. We had 9 standbys, 32 public assists, and 13 hazardous material carbon monoxide alarms. And so here's just a pie graph breaking down the total calls. So as you see, the biggest majority of our calls are EMS and then vehicle accidents. And then here, so of the 1,726 calls, 60% were in the city, and then 40% of our calls were in the county. Some of the stuff for a recap this year that we did the Relay for Life. The MDA Fill the Boot. We raised over $3,000 this year. Some stuff we did was the 4th of July, we did health and safety code inspections, and then we provided standby for our Engine 96, 96 Truck 1, 96 E1, Squad 96, all performed standby during the 4th of July festival. And then I know we have some new council members, so the way the equipment works, Engine 96 is a county engine, and the water tender, which we didn't have standby there, is a county, and then 96 E1, 96 Truck 1, and Squad 96 are all city-owned pieces of equipment. And so the easiest way to tell if you didn't know is if they're red, the city owns it, white, county owns it. We stand by every football game that Livingston High School had, the home game, we provided EMT. And, one of my favorite ones to do is obviously the homecoming for the cheerleaders on top of our truck. They seem to always fight for getting up front on the ladder. The Sweet Potato Festival, we had rigs. We flew in rigs. They stood by. It was a good, a lot of people came by, especially when the helicopter's there. It makes it good for people to see. We talk about what instance we do utilize the helicopter on and what we don't around here. And then we had the training burn this year, which it got delayed a couple months, but we ended up finally getting it done. And so we had one of our volunteers that's a council member. He was there. I wasn't there on that one, so I can't. But I heard it went really good, and it had made a couple entries and some good training for our new volunteers. And then, of course, Halloween. We were able to give out with Rex. We worked together on that. We were able, and the PD gave out some candy and some good time for the kids. Good, safe place for them to be at. And then training this last month, the paid staff. We did host testing, and our continuing professional training is just basically the mandatory every year training that we have to do. Includes EMS, some hazmat, and then the volunteers this last month they did the hazmat training. Some of our goals for 2019 is our community relationship, staffing, equipment, and the facility. So our community relationship, we're trying to adapt and improve our service within every changing needs within the city, whether it be adding more residential, commercial buildings, open communication with the city council, attend community events such as the Sweet Potato Festival, the Kite Festival, the 4th of July, and continuing public outreach. You know, fill the boot, going to, like we have probably 10, 20 times a year. We'll have a bunch of school classes come by the station and give tours. So just continuing our outreach and public education. One thing we'd like to work on that we've been working on with the city manager and the council, and we're hoping to make progress on it, is our staffing. We currently level staffing as one paid person on. Number of paid firefighters is the same now as it was in 1990 in the city. And since 1990, which the population was approximately 17,000, and the latest numbers I got for statistics was 2016 was 14, which we all know that's higher than that in the city. We still have the same amount of staffing. This year, we're expecting about 1,825 calls, and Livingston is the busiest station in Merced County. Adding a second person would increase public and personal safety, and adding a second person would also help on our outreach programs whenever we have students and stuff come by the station, not including the calls. That would be a great help. So here's a breakdown for the last 20 years for calls. The blue is the city, the red is the blue is the county, the red is the city, and then the green is the total calls. So if you look at, like, say, even the last 10 years, in 2008, we had 405 calls in the city, 788 calls in the city, and now we're already at 1,028 in the city in just the last 10 years. So in the last 20 years, we've had a 102% increase. And so here's a study that we did about a year and a half ago now, I guess. So based on population, Livingston City in California was ranked 335. And so we did a plus or minus 1,500 people. And here you could see, for instance, we have one station, one staffed engine, and we ran 1,527 calls the previous year. So one engine was running 1,527 calls by one person. And then if you were to go up or down on that, you could see how stations, people with even less population, they'd have 2 or 3 engines that were staffed with 2 to 4 people. And so you can see where the staffing definitely affects and helps with the service for the people. Our equipment, our typical lifespan of a fire engine is between 20 and 25 years, depending on the use and need. We are currently replacing our squad with a Type 6. The current City of Livingston equipment is dated and reaching the lifespan of frontline equipment. 96E1 is 19 years old, and last year we spent over $22,000 in just repairs and maintenance to fix issues with it. And the current city does not The city currently does not have a reserve engine, so if it went in for like last year when it was in for a month, we didn't have a backup engine for that. We are currently working with Jose for a long-term, like setting funding aside because buying an engine is pretty expensive to help offset that. And
How much does the engine cost?
you're looking just for an engine about 500, 4 to 5, depends on how you want on there if you're going to get it loaded. And so here was whenever we did some training at Motel 6 with our truck to see if there was a fire on the roof, how we would make access with it, make sure that it would meet the needs. As you can see, to our standard, we're supposed to park 1.5 times the height from the building. So if it collapses, it wouldn't, the vehicles and stuff wouldn't be stuck underneath it, or people wouldn't be stuck underneath it. At 1.5 times the collapse zone, which is pretty, on the picture on the right, you can see that we wouldn't be able to make access to the roof. And today's, our truck on 96 truck one, it's a 1990, and the truck ladder is only 55 foot, and today the standard ladder is anywhere between 100 and 110 feet. And and I know we're looking at getting some more commercial buildings, so one issue we'd have is if there was a rescue on the 3rd story or 4th story, if we were getting taller buildings or trying to ventilate the roof. So we're making progress on the Type 6 engine. On December 22nd, myself and Chief Carter went down to BME Boise and reviewed the specifications, and we made any changes needed so that the engine will meet the necessary needs of Livingston. The newer engine is going to allow greater reliability. It will have water and foam application. It will have rescue gear on it. Have better access for smaller driveways and alleys. It can bring in some revenue if we send it out of county, like 96E1 last year made a little bit of money when it was covering. And it just makes a safe work platform and improves performance for firefighters. Facility is something also that we are working on really closely with Jose. The current fire department facility was constructed in the late 1950s when equipment was much smaller. Over the past 60 years, additions have taken place to accommodate the additional equipment, but it's always been set up for one-person staffing. There's currently needs a lot of major repairs. We look forward to working with the city council and the city manager on finding a site for the facility. And then something that we've been working on for a while, and we finally got the memorial plaque in for John Vance memorial ceremony, and we talked to the family. So for those that didn't know, John Vance was a volunteer for 40 years for the Livingston Fire Department. He included positions such as the fire chief. He also served in the United States Air Force, and so we're going to have a ceremony February 2nd at 11:30, and it's just going to be just to the right of the station, as if you're coming out the bay doors on C Street. And we've been working with Public Works to put in for the monument. And that is the end of our report. Do I have any questions?
Council, questions for the fire department? Okay, public, any questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Captain, can you
Okay.
send us a copy of that presentation to our email, or Jose,
Yeah.
then you can forward it to us?
Can I send it to Jose and he can send it out to everybody? Not a problem.
Public Works?
Good evening, Your Honorable Mayor, council members, members of the public. Anthony Chavarria, Public Works. I'm here this evening to present our Public Works Activities Report. First department up is our Parks and LMD, which is Landscape Maintenance Districts. The staff continues to conduct the day-to-day cleaning and maintenance of all parks and LMDs. They're currently pruning mistletoe out of the trees at Arcalian Park. Another project we worked on is installing additional lighting at Arcalian Park and continued field maintenance. Another small project that staff is undertaking is just restoring equipment, sprucing up equipment out at the parks. A little bit of paint goes a long way in the aesthetics of our parks. This picture is, we're putting up that light pole I talked to you earlier about lighting at Arcalian Park. Picture on the right is one of our CVOC employees, Kurt. He's a licensed electrician and is helping us install some of our electrical components. Here's a picture of that lighting project at Arcalian Park. Not only does the lighting provide security, but it allows residents to use that walk path in the evening hours when they get home from work. And a lot of the times it's dark when they get home. Next department is the water department. Staff continues with day-to-day operations of the maintenance of water treatment well sites, backflow testing, new water meter installs, retrofit water meter installs, service leak repairs, and most recent project was a replace head shaft at well number 9. New water meter installs are for new development, water meters, new homes, retrofit. We have about 150, maybe 200 meters to install that are still manual read that we need to move on over to our drive-by read. It's a picture of a service leak repair. It's Ramon Trujillo, our water department. It's a picture of the well number 9 shaft repair, the head shaft, which is on the right. Our sewer department. The guys continue with day-to-day operations of the oxidation ditch or wastewater treatment facility. Inspections and maintenance at all our sewer lift stations, or storm drain lift stations. They're conducting sewer line preventive maintenance by utilizing the flusher truck, which is our sewer truck. And we recently videoed the sewer line between Main Street and 4th Street, which is the line underneath, that runs underneath Portuguese Hall. Sewer line preventive maintenance. I have one of my sewer staff members, Tommy Mejia. Tommy, can you come and? Why is what is a flusher truck and why is a sewer line preventive maintenance important? I'm gonna have Tommy Mejia, who's in our sewer department, kind of talk about that a little bit.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The sewer truck you're probably seeing in operation around town. It's a pretty good sized truck. It's got an 800-foot hose reel in the front. Sends a high pressure volume. And it also has vacuum capabilities. But what we do is we set up over the manholes in the road, and what we'll do is we'll send the hose up the line and bring it back while the nozzle cleans, and we bring it back real slow, removing any debris or grease from the sewer lines. And that's maintenance to prevent any sanitary sewer overflows, which is what's coming out of the ground. Stuff like that we have to report to the state, so we do our best to do maintenance on that and remove any debris. And also we're working on implementing a FOG program, which is an acronym for fats, oils, and grease, and just to bring awareness to the community about dumping grease down the drains and try to help alleviate some of those problems.
Thank you, Tommy. Here's a picture of a Lucetto storm lift station. That's Tommy and Kevin. They're working on installing electrical panel that we retrofitted and upgraded. One of our CVOC workers that I talked about, Kurt, the electrician, and put some new electronic components in there. The sewer line inspection, let's talk about that for a little bit. So with the permission from the city manager, I was able to reach out to the city of Firebaugh to borrow a video trailer. Big thank you to city manager and Firebaugh Ben Gallegos for allowing us to use the equipment. Now the video trailer, video camera is an awesome tool to have at our disposal. It helps increase our fundability when we're competing for CDBG, CMAQ grants. And what it basically does is it helps us point out system deficiencies. There's an employee on the right there that's NOAA training our employees on how to use the equipment. There's Kevin on the right learning how to work the controls for the transporter, which is a camera. There's actually a picture there of the inside of a sewer line. There's a picture on the right of the transporter. You're able to adapt the wheel size to accommodate different sizes of sewer line for inspection and storm line. Picture on the left, the guys are getting ready to drop it in the manhole. It's an expensive piece of equipment, so you gotta be really careful. I got a 5-minute video, is it okay to play? So here's the transporter in action. This is a sewer line that runs under Portuguese Hall to F Street. There's a picture of a lateral from a home. So when they flush their toilets or dispose of their gray water, this is where it enters our sewer main. And we're able to inspect the seams for root intrusion, for breaks. As you can see on top, all that white debris on top, that's grease, which is the main culprit for SSOs and sewer blockages and overflows. Now we've seen that, and oh man, we're in trouble because our sewer truck got stuck a week ago, so that's what prompted us to ask to borrow this equipment to see what was going on. Anybody know what it is? And that camera lens is able to turn back inside, do a 360, and clean the lens, so if it does get dirty, so you can see again without having to pull it all the way back out to clean the lens. Yep, it was laundry day. So somebody was doing laundry, and those are the suds, the soap. We were like, whoa, that's our blockage. So at this point, it's a little risky to move forward because, well, one, you can't see what's on the other side of that soap. If there's a drop off, then you risk getting that camera stuck. So we're kind of hesitant about moving forward at this point. We're trying to clean the lens to see if we could see a little better. See if the soap bubbles dissipated. Contemplated pulling it out. But as you can see on the bottom left, we're already 263 feet in. And we're pretty far already. And the guy said that they were getting stuck somewhere in that area. So the owner happened to be there, and he said, yeah, go ahead and move forward, but go slowly. So you're going to see us attempt to move forward slowly, clean the lens again. And you see how the camera kind of went up and came back down again? Now, in the line, there's offsets. You connect the two sewer lines together. Sometimes they move from ground movement. Sometimes it breaks away. And there's unevenness there, so that's where you see that. But when it creates that lip, it creates an atmosphere for settling out and blockages. Again, we're thinking about pulling it back out. Didn't want to risk it, but Noah was there, the owner from Fireball, and he said, "No, go ahead. And you guys came this far already. You know, let's move forward a little bit." You can see another lateral up on top left. The camera is able to do a 360, so upon every lateral you approach, you could do a 360 inspection and search for cracks, broken pipe. Because usually what happens, if you have a broken pipe in your sewer up on top and you have a fluctuating water table, it's a recipe for a sinkhole. Promise, it's almost over. Okay. We broke through the bubbles. Mostly, it's a little bit of suds there. We continue to move forward. You can see there's still some grease up on top. But the guys haven't been able to clean the line because they kept on getting stuck. So we'll clean the line efficiently. Chief, when we get to the point to where you could see that pipe coming in, just hit the pause button or just hit the screen again, it'll pause it. A little bit more. Right about there. You could go ahead and pause it. Okay, that's what we found. That was our culprit. And what that is somebody repaired a lateral, I don't know when, and it looks like they shoved the lateral all the way into our main, which, as you can see, is impeding flow. When the guys try to run their line to clean it out, they're getting stuck and hung up there. Oh, it's another project for us. And that's the inside of a sewer line. It's a picture of our fleet department. The guys continue to conduct service in all our city vehicles in all departments. That's Dustin on the left. I believe he's repairing a fuel pump. That's Art on the right. I have no idea what he's doing in that fire truck, but I hope it still works, Captain Alvin. That's the end of my presentation. Questions?
Any questions for Public Works? If not, does the audience have any questions or public? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And code enforcement?
Good evening and hello. So welcome new council. Just added a few reminders. There are a few people that kind of understood some things. So I just wanted to recap on a few things just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. Again. So we were brought in with a grant back in July of 2017. I've been here 11 months, and initially we were just tackling the grant area. We've expanded that, pretty much covering most of the city, just because there's a need. I'm only still here 2 days a week, but I do feel that we're really starting to make a significant difference here in the city. So just a couple slides just to kind of highlight. This is for fairly simple illegal dumping on the street, but again, before and after. Most people wouldn't believe this is the same property, but it is. So just a few of the things that we address in code enforcement, everything from serious issues with life safety, vegetation debris, building without permit, kind of goes across the board of any type of code that is out there. Health and safety, building, fire, we're here to help support that. So again, issues with homeless, illegal camping. This was out in the Caltrans right away. Sort of a little before and after, we had one of the donation bins. Even though it was permitted, it was causing a lot of problems every day. That was actually a pretty good picture. They were diving in, pulling stuff out. Currently, the property is undergoing some rehabilitation, but significant difference. The next slide will demonstrate, once we got the donation bin removed, it made a significant difference in the ability to clean up a site. So this is underneath the Hammett overpass. Most of those items there came from either the dumpster or the donation bin. So I worked very closely with a lot of the departments, police, public works, building. I can't do my job without everybody else helping out. So thank you. We tackle everything from private, or in this case, commercial properties. So these are some of the issues that we saw when we first went out. We've gotten a lot of progress with it, but the picture on the right, now we're having some more issues with since some of the homeless have been relocated. This is one of the new areas that they're starting to try to inhabit. Issues, these are some before and afters. We had an issue with and some concern with the dead tree. The tree is gone. Trip hazards in the sidewalks, that's been repaired. We had multiple bait stations around here in the center plaza. That's all been taken care of and cleaned up. The market was barbecuing out front and illegally dumping all the ash. Majority of that has been also cleaned up. And we had hazardous issues with the lighting. Thank you very much, building, for your help on this. Working with them, the entire plaza has been retrofitted with new covered lighting, so there's no chance of the bulbs falling out and hitting anyone. Also, multi-residence properties. Some of the issues: no extinguishers, exposed wiring, broken windows, illegal habitation in a unit that's not designed for people to be living in. We have infamous lawn parking on the right, and we're still having chronic issues with parking in the fire lane on the left. Garbage, debris, improper storage. This is one of the successes out there. So just a couple highlights. These are some of the things. Since I came in, we started issuing citations this summer. Started keeping track of actually how many cases we were doing, everything else. Been making some significant changes. One of the things I was a little surprised. I've been writing a lot of citations. I think I wrote 33 in 18, and we brought in $1,500. So not all paid, but that's where we're at right now. Again, multi-residence, this is also a vacant property, but been working very closely with police, public works, building on this one. We got warrants to go in and do an inspection here and in another property. These are some of the issues we found since there was no water service and we had squatting going on in one of the units. Vandalism, drugs, and just in very, very poor repair. But this is where it's at right now, and we've ceased all activity. We had it boarded up, and in less than 24 hours, we had somebody break back in, but due to the board up and the warrant process, we were able to arrest him, and we haven't had any more issues. This is the other property. We obtained a warrant to do an inspection. Both these properties have been very long-term chronic issues and drains on city resource. Two views of the side yards, just to give you an idea of the amount of material. By the way, in terms of fire, if a fire were to happen here, they would not have egress, for people to get out safely, but more importantly, for fire to get in and address the issues. And this is the front yard. Actually, this looks fairly good. This is another one I'm working closely with police and building on, that's going to potentially become a legal issue. We had camping in the back, and we have, as you can see, some interior issues with plumbing and unsafe electrical. And another property that's under our eyes that we will be addressing and taking some legal action with. This one's just a little behind because it's vacant. So, any questions?
Questions, council? Does the public have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll go to planning. Nothing? Engineering? Well, there you go. Yeah.
Sewer takes the cake. Takes the cheese.
There's no way I can beat Public Works for sure.
No, you can't beat that sewer line,
I
can
just-
you?
No, no. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public.
Yeah.
Mario Gavea, City Engineer. Just a couple of updates. The water replacement project is going on. I'm sure most of you know. The work is now occurring on 8th Street, so there's another month, 2 months to go until that's done. The weather's kind of slowing it down a little bit. On the grant applications that I came to council, I think 2 or 3 councils ago, and presented some proposed alley repairs or alley paving repairs. That was submitted, and then we just received good news on that. We ended up submitting two applications, not one like we originally thought, and they were both recommended for funding. So that will be coming on here in the future. That's all I have. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? Does the public have any questions of engineering department? If not, I'll move on to recreation. Okay. Legal.
Mayor, nothing much, just announcing to the council that we are working on scheduling the AB 1234, the ethics training, the 2-hour training required every 2 years for council and certain staff members. So we're going to be working on scheduling that.
Okay, council, any questions on legal? Okay, did I miss anybody? Finance, Mr. Grant, I think I missed you. We got money? We can write checks and clear them? We're good? Thank you. Okay, if not, then if there's no, then we'll go on to city manager.
Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council and the public, thank you for being here this evening, and I thank staff for great report outs. Appreciate that. So one quick item, and I know this is something that the chief was probably going to mention, but I'm going to mention it. On January 24th at 5:30, at the over at the shooting range, he's going to have the simulation exercises. So if you're interested, please, touch bases with the chief. I believe the explorers are going to be out there that day as well. This is over the course of 2 or 3 days, but it's pretty cool. You basically go through this simulation like an officer that, you have different subjects that'll come up, and whether you pull the trigger or not pull the trigger. And so the simulation is pretty cool. So I encourage you, if you want, set an appointment with the chief, and he's more than happy to entertain you guys out there. So again, January 24th at 5:30, okay? On January 22nd, just a reminder, we're going to have our next Utility Stakeholders Committee meeting. Everybody's invited, but of course, we certainly want the committee members to be there. We're going to be covering a number of different items, and so we're going to be really busy for the next few months, so we certainly encourage everybody to be there. Again, January 22nd, 5:30, here in this facility. Wanted to also report that for that utility stakeholders meeting, we've went ahead and sent out the RFPs for Ray Consultants, and so I know we received 3. The due date was today. I believe we only received 3. There could have been one extra one that I don't know about, but we will be presenting those to the stakeholders committee because what we want to do is we want to go ahead and hire a rate consultant to help us for this next round. And another item, I mentioned briefly in a previous council meeting that we're really focused on going after some funding to improve our parks, and we've had some individuals. I think I saw him here, but I think he's in the gray there. I'm not sure his name. But anyways, to make a long story short, the grant, we can go after a minimum of $200,000 or a maximum of $8 million under the Prop 68 to come up with some recreational needs here in this community. So we're going to be partnering up with public health advocates, and that's going to give us an opportunity to get extra points to go after this grant, and they're going to help us do the actual grant. But part of the process is to also have basically open sessions, open meetings with the community, and so the community is going to communicate in these meetings what they would like to see, whether it's a skateboard park, whether it's more baseball fields, whether it's more soccer fields, other recreational opportunities. We can't take what we recorded in the past and just say, oh, this is what we want. We have to open it up again to the community. So again, anybody who's interested in wanting to see other recreational opportunities in this community, again, whether it's skateboard park, whether it's rollerblading, whatever it is, here's an opportunity to provide input. I don't know the dates yet, but we will be broadcasting that out in different methods. And also, lastly, we've already ordered the Benito Aguilar sign, and so in the next month we should have that delivered and installed. So, unless you have any other questions for me, Council, that is it for now.
Council, questions for the city manager? Not. Does public have any questions? Okay, if not, then city council member announcements reports. Council member Baptista?
Not at this time.
Council member Aguilar?
Just real quick, regarding the Recreation Commission, we'll be having a public hearing for our first mural on January 24th at 6 p.m. here at the Chambers. I'm very excited. We'll be able to see the art piece that might be going up, if approved, up here at the museum in town. Also, there's an announcement. There's a raffle for a PlayStation 4 to cover costs for shades for the bleachers at Little Guys Field. So that fundraiser is still going on from the commission. And just report last week, along with Mr. Garcia, we attended the One Voice meeting for MCEG, the trip to Washington, D.C. to advocate for needs and projects the city wants to take up to resources or find resources for services. So we attended that meeting last week, and that's pretty much it.
Hopefully they have the government open when you go there. So I hope they have the government open when you go there.
Oh yeah, that's actually something that came up during our discussion. Yeah.
City manager?
Yes, just to piggyback a little bit on Councilmember Aguilar, we did communicate to the committee that that we would like to meet with the Veterans Affairs Bureau, and so we're working on trying to get a meeting with some of the representatives to look at some of those elements that you mentioned at one of our meetings.
Okay, Councilmember Kang,
I got nothing to report right now.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing to report.
Okay, and for me, I don't have anything either, and we'll move on to public hearing. Item number 1, this is a resolution authorizing submittal of the 2018 CDBG grant. And
I'll cover that.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So, we've been very fortunate over the years to be able to apply for CDBG funding here in this community. CDBG program is a program that looks at low and moderate census tracts here in our community. It's to prevent or eliminate, and the last qualifying element is also if there's an urgent need, something that needs to be addressed quickly. So we look at the entire community, and we look at those different components. And so then we basically propose with our engineering team what projects we can actually go after, that we would be competitive enough to be able to get funding. You heard the city engineer just a few minutes ago talk about this water line project that's taking place right here off of D Street. That was a CDBG project, and as a matter of fact, the code enforcement is also part of the CDBG grant funding that we received, and it would be nice to get some more funding for that. That grant is going to be over in October of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, this is very valuable to our community. So, we did an assessment, and we are looking at submitting a grant application this next go-around to address some of the sewer line issues that we have. Last time we applied, we asked for $5 million, and we were like the runner-up, but that's not good enough. So looking at the amount of funding that we currently are eligible for, we scaled it down from $5 million to $3 million. We think we're going to be very competitive there, and if they give us any loser points for last time, we should be over the top, and we can address some of the sewer needs here in our community. So this particular, and so we have to have 2 public hearings, one at staff level that we already had, and this would be the second one, and then we can package it all up and send it through and do a little praying, and we should be okay. So that's
Okay,
it.
thank you. This item is a public hearing. So first I will start out with the council. Do you have any questions at this time, council? Nobody? I do, and I probably know the answer, but just want to ask anyway. I know that we could use this money. I know that we're applying for
Sewer line.
sewer, and there's basically some general administration dollars. Last week at our economic development meeting, I had mentioned that it would be nice, or would be, if we could do like for low income. I know that low income housing rehab is fundable under this program. Is there a reason why I know that we can downtown area, is there a reason we didn't apply for any housing rehab?
Yeah, well, actually, there's 2 pieces to this. One is we have funding that we received in the past, which is basically like a revolving loan fund. So we've taken that money and we've lent it to folks to either buy, be able to qualify to buy a home, like a down payment assistance. And then we've had others where it's been housing rehab. And as they're paying that back, that becomes program income money. And that program income money basically can be redistributed out again into the community for that same purpose. And it keeps on going unless we decide that there's qualifications that we have to meet to redirect that money under the program income guidelines. However, there are, as part of this process, we decided that in order to get our biggest bang for our buck would be to go after a sewer line grant versus housing. Now, on the housing side, there's also some challenges that we've actually had in the past that unless the state changes the guidelines, we're going to have the same problems. The problems that we've had is that we've actually had to give money back because we couldn't qualify people because the homes, the top tier, I think it was like $230,000. Well, you can't find a house in Livingston for $230,000, and so we couldn't qualify anybody, and so we had to give that money back. However, as you know, I had an opportunity to be with the governor and his cabinet this past Friday, and he has several priority areas. One of them is, of course, infrastructure, potable water, but the other one is housing, and he put money forward. So we're keen on looking at all those funding sources to get more money for affordable housing opportunities here, but also to see if there's any facade money that's out there for businesses so that we can try to come up with a downtown facade program. So, very good point, Mayor.
Yeah, so you're saying that this money also can be used, I know it's basically designed to eliminate blight and to take slums out or not to turn things into slums, but does that also are you saying that under commercial, money's also available for commercial?
Yes, but under the program, there's different types of source money. Like, for instance, you have one that is a CDBG for like a business revolving loan fund, which is separate and apart. So we're going to go after funding in that arena under the economic development pool, and so that we can look at and there's also the RBEG program, which is the business enterprise grant funding. There's different grant sources.
Of course. Okay.
So this is only one program, and we're going after this funding because this is based on staff's analysis, our best chances of getting money and addressing one of our biggest needs.
Okay, thank you. This item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to, from the audience, wish to address the council on this item? Nobody from the audience, and this item is now closed. Council, further discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion at this time. Okay,
I'll make motion to approve a resolution authorizing submittal of 2018 Community Development Block Grant application.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm sorry. Okay, I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Okay, roll call. Councilmember Baptista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Yep. And just one last comment on this. They also have basically like a business revolving loan fund, and I'm hoping to apply for some funding for that as well, because what that'll help us is if there's any businesses that would like to do some improvements or additions and expanding, there would be a committee, a local committee that would be set up, and the council would basically set the interest rate, and money, there would be a loan committee, and that money would then be lent out, and as that's being paid back, that becomes program income and it just keeps going and growing. So we're also looking at that.
Thank you. Okay, move on to item number 2. This is a public hearing. Resolution of intent to make changes to the special tax rates and resolution A, calling for a special election to Community Facility District number 2017-1, Public Services. Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The City of Livingston is looking at establishing a Community Facilities District, number 2017-1. This is a public hearing on the intent to lower the special tax rates for Community Facilities District, again, 2017-1 Public Services, and calling a special election and submitting to the qualified electors of said district propositions regarding the annual levy of special taxes within the Community Facilities District.
Okay, thank you. This is a time and place for a public hearing relating to Community Facilities District Number 27 Public Services. This public hearing relates to the lowering of the special tax rates in said district and calling a special election and submittal of the qualified electors of said district propositions regarding the annual levy of special taxes within the Community Facility District. Has the public notice of hearing been given?
Yes. Notice of the public hearing has been given in the form and manner as required by law.
Okay, it is a time to take testimony from the public. I would request that each person who speaks give his name and address and state whether he is the owner of the property located within the proposed boundaries of the Community Facilities District 2017-1 or a registered voter residing within the proposed boundaries of district. Public testimony, do we have the property owner at this time?
And just for the public, given a little more information, this is a Community Facilities District formation, basically off of Winton Parkway, which would encompass the Livingston Community Clinic or Health Center or campus, the Panda Express. That's the area that we're talking about.
Okay, that there are no owners present. Are there any registered voters residing within the district that would like to come forward at this time? I don't see anybody registered voters within the boundary coming in. So before I formally close the hearing, are there any other property owners subject to the proposed special taxes who wish to file a written protest? If so, they must be filed with the city clerk at this time. Does anybody wish to file a written protest at this time? We will have public, this is just for the registered voters at this time. We will have a public input in a few minutes. Okay, since there's nobody coming forward to file a written protest, now we'll move this to a public hearing. So anybody from the public wish to address this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and please remember that you have 3 minutes.
On that topic only, how much is that my name is Donna Duffy, and I reside at 1616 Sapphire. How much is a special election going to cost for that? I didn't understand why it was saying special election.
It's not an election as you see as voting. This is for a tax for that particular boundary. And the way it works is people within that district can vote to increase or decrease their taxes. If you can't levy taxes on somebody without the property owner's consent, and they can vote up or down. So this is not a citywide election.
So primarily, you're looking at, that's good that you're asking these questions. So whether it's residential, industrial, or commercial, there are different, of course, rates per se. But this in particular, we're only talking about that commercial district that's out there.
Oops, sorry. It is still open, so if anybody else, please come forward. And then once again, state your name and address for the record.
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez, P.O. Box 163. Is this a special tax rate just for that one particular area? And if so, could you give just a little brief explanation as to how you came up with those rates?
Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, very, very good question. So throughout the city, we have different special districts. So whether they're lighting and maintenance districts, whether we have benefit assessment districts, and then we also have community facilities district. The community facilities district is primarily for businesses, okay? And so we hire an actual expert consultant, in this case, Wildem Financial Services, and they basically do a thorough analysis to come up with the reasonable rates, and then they also get input from staff, from engineering, from the different departments. And based on all of that, all of the different input, because keep in mind that some of the funding from these special district goes to fund and maintain a lot of the facilities. Like for instance, in this case, funding from the CFDs go towards to pay for fire. And of course, they would love to have more, and we're working on that, buddy. And and then of course the police department, and and the other districts, public works, and so forth and so on. So to answer your question, there's a thorough scientific analysis engineering analysis that goes through that, and based on that, whether you're residential, commercial, industrial, there's a rate that's specific to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does anybody else from the audience have any comments to make on this? Seeing nobody coming forward, this is now closed to the public. Council discussion? If not, I have a question for Mr. Ramirez. I know that now, I know this is just for the CFT, is just for this particular district, but are we setting this as a template for future districts as well? So are they going to be able to piggyback on its rate structure, or are we going to be able to justify different rates for somebody else, another district?
Well, there's going to be, of course, there'll probably be a combination between our legal and myself in terms of this. So again, going back to our experts, in this case, Wildem, who do this up and down the state. So they basically, this template that you see, I don't really see something drastically deviating from what you see here tonight. And of course, we've had the establishment of several CFDs in town, and this is a new CFD, and the next CFD might be comprised of more businesses, or it might be just 2 or 3, and it really comes down to of course, as there's increased costs of addressing street maintenance, police, fire. So all that is analyzed as new districts are formed, and so the template, I'm sure it's going to be the same. The cost is going to be different. I don't know if you had anything to share.
And Mayor, I think your city manager has pretty much explained it, but as projects come forward and the CFDs get created, there's a new analysis of what projects, what level of service we want to maintain, and what's that cost. You probably see that the original CFD, let's say the first one that was created, may be less, because it takes an election anytime you want to change it, similar to what you're seeing right now, what's called an election. In this case, just a little more background, and the staff report explains it, but it's actually looking at the formula, and it talks about lowering rates. Now, the city manager came a few months back as far as also incentives on how do we bring in more business as well, more commercial businesses and incentives to come in. One of the things with our current businesses that were coming in, our current new folks, and I think with like the clinic, there was a big discussion of, look, your CFDs, is there a different formula we can use that pretty much may give you the same amount because now you're covering more? This formula is meant to cover more areas of the city. Potentially the rate is lower, but it covers more areas. An analysis at that point is done and saying, okay, at this rate, can we still maintain the services, fire, police, and other things, parks, that we need? And that's really what the consultant looks like. But anytime a CFD is created, this same analysis happens all over again to make sure that we're up to date and up to speed with whatever services are needed.
And thank you. And I know that I read the report, and to me, that's not troubling anything. That's not what it is. We had done analysis for the CFD just about a year ago or so, and then reanalysis shows a lower rate is acceptable. So I was just trying to figure out how did that change come about? Did we reassess some charges the city had, services for the cost of those services? Is that what it was?
And if I may, I think it was a combination of looking at what we're already getting from the CFD, but also I believe in the CFD from the CFD consultant that explained it also, it covers more ground. The fees may be less, but it does cover more components. But it's been a lot of conversation with the current businesses in the clinic it's out there as far as, hey, how do we keep you coming into the city of Livingston? How do we make sure we keep ourselves competitive while not jeopardizing our services? So that's why the formula changed a little bit, but there was a lot of analysis done to make sure that we're not compromising services.
Okay. Mr. Hatch, did you wish to add something? You're up there.
Just to reinforce what the city attorney and the city manager have said on this, this is really a method by which these businesses address the impacts that have been identified in the environmental document. There were various impacts to fire, to police, to road and circulation services, and rather than lay that on the business as a one-time impact fee, by doing a community facility district, we can basically finance that so that the business, it becomes part of a long-term commitment and paying it off. And it's a method by which the business pays its fair share, yet at the same time keeping the costs down to the business so that we can be competitive in an economic development perspective. So this is a method by which we're doing that. And this is something that, the question, would other users may be annexed into this at a later date? It's an entirely a possible scenario, is that as additional businesses within the Winton Parkway commercial area come forward, they may also, this was subject to a lot of negotiation, they may also wish to use this method to pay for their fair share.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. Council, any further discussion? So, okay. We can go ahead and go to resolution. Okay, does the council wish to move forward with the resolutions and adoptions, or any further questions? Okay, if not, then I will entertain a motion at this time. Yes, you have to do two different ones.
I'll do the first one. Make motion to approve a resolution of intention to make changes to the rate and method of apportionment of special tax of the City of Livingston Community Facilities District number 2017-1 Public Services, and to submit the establishment of an appropriations limit and the levy of special taxes to the qualified electors thereof.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Batista? Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, we have one more resolution. Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll make motion approve a resolution of the City Council of the City of Livingston calling a special election and submitting to the qualified electors of the City of Livingston Community Facilities District number 2017-1 Public Services propositions regarding the establishment of an appropriations limit and annual levy of special tax within the Community Facilities District.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
Yes, I second it.
I have a second by Councilmember Kang. May I have roll call, please?
Okay, roll call. Councilmember Batista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Samra.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, moving on to citizens' comments. So this section of the agenda allows the members of the public to address the city council on the items not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with the state open meeting laws. No action will be taken by city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda, the members of the public will be provided opportunity to address the city council.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Jose Moran, 945 Parkview Drive, Livingston, California. Well, first of all, I just wanted to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Haven't seen you guys for a month. Just trying to stay away from the cold and the weather, But anyways, I just wanted to kind of mention something about, and I know there's a couple of times throughout the year that we have, I guess, occasions around town where the citizens take a moment and to celebrate. But during those celebrations, they use illegal fireworks. And I'm not sure if this time around for New Year's, it seemed like the fireworks or the illegal fireworks seem to be getting more powerful. For the first time in years, I noticed or I felt, or maybe I was paying more attention because I was at home and sick and stuff. There was fireworks that were down the street, like 3-4 homes down the street, and they were actually rattling my windows. And the car alarms were going off. I'm like, man, those things are getting more powerful. And I know that we don't have enough officers during those times to be everywhere, but maybe we can kind of think about maybe doing something to educate more the public about what those things cause, not only the accidents that the fires and stuff like that sometimes tend to happen, but also, a lot of our pets are really, some of them have a panic attack. I mean, they don't know where to go. I know that 4th of July and New Year's is one of those 2 days where the Merced County, the animal shelter, they get a lot more pets coming in because they're lost, they're just running, they're scared, and so it's not only affecting families or the city, but the county as well, money-wise, because they had to spend a lot more money. But maybe we can probably think about an education program related to fireworks and with the consequences, not only the fines, but, and then we can probably kind of create something to work along with the schools and, present where the fire department or PD can go into the schools and present information about the damage that the illegal fireworks can cause.
3 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moran. Just so I do agree with you, some of these illegal fireworks, they did rattle windows and doors. I think my cat ran to my dog for comfort. It was so, but I knew what was going to happen, but I brought the dog and the cat inside the garage. But still, it doesn't matter where you're at. I know we've dealt with this over the years, and we even increased the fines, but it's kind of, catching somebody is kind of hard. You have to be almost there. Otherwise, people, well, I didn't do it. No one ever calls, says my neighbor's doing the fireworks. Nobody ever calls, so, because they probably don't want to get in trouble with the neighbor either, I wish we had a solution, but all you can do is try to be vigilant and education as well. And thank you, Mr. Moran. Does anybody else wish to? Please come forward. Chairman, are you going to say something? Okay. I figured a fire department would,
maybe we can factor something into our little our future recreational grants that we apply for. But anyway, here's the story. About the last nice week of the years off vacation from school on a Friday, and beautiful day, and I'm chugging down Main Street, having a walk, heading to the post office to pick on my mail, when my toe caught on a piece of lifted sidewalk, and I lost my balance, and I fell. I tried to roll so that I didn't end up with broken wrists or anything broken, but I still took a pretty hard smack to the ground. And as I was sitting on the concrete checking to see if it was only my dignity that was chipped and cracked, my thoughts were kind of spinning around in my head like the Tweety birds in the cartoon. Ironically, as I'm checking out my parts and pieces to make sure nothing's broken, the first thing that crossed my mind was, gee, it was really nice when we could walk the track at the high school. Now they don't let us do that anymore. The second thing that crossed my mind was, it's been a while since we've done a sidewalk survey to like red mark all the places where the sidewalk has lifted or there have been cracks or broken. And isn't it about time we red flag all these places again? Because I'm lucky. I was eventually able to get up and walk away from it. My shoulder's still a little bit out of whack. I banged up the rotator cuff, so it's muscle. My dignity is probably a little bit more bruised than the rest of me, but I didn't break anything. I didn't break a hip, and I'm on the younger side of the golden years. And I think it's about time we start taking a look at our sidewalks, especially on Main Street, because that is where a lot of us walk to maybe get to the store, get to the post office, and get to get a little exercise in. And if you could work out some kind of a deal with the high school or find out what needs to be done so that once again we can start using the track. That would be a helpful option for those of us that live in that part of town.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'll continue a minute. I'm sorry that you fell, and thanks for the visual of a Tweety bird circling over you, but I know it's not a laughing matter, but I'm sorry that happened, and City Manager City Manager?
Yes, Catherine, thank you very much. We'll definitely be continuing to look at that. I just we're going to talk to the high school and see what we can do to help. But keep in mind that we have been making some really good improvements at the different parks. So if you go over to Gallo, you see that there's a walking path over there, a little trail that goes around the park. At Arcalian, we did a big section of that, and so we're of course looking at doing the same as we can over at Max Foster Park and other parks. But as far as the sidewalks, definitely we certainly depend on the public to point things out to us as well. We have done ADA surveys and looking not just at trip hazards, but also, the slopes and so forth. So we've been doing a lot. And so if you point out different locations, staff will, because they can go out, last week and do a little survey, and there can be shifts, with rain and soil and trucks and the conditions might change. And so we really appreciate when people point things out for us, but we'll look at that. We'll do another sidewalk survey and make sure that we point those hazard areas out. If not, fix them if we can. So thank you.
Any other further comments from the audience?
Am I supposed to sign this?
Yes.
When I come back here? Okay.
And also, please, again, reminder, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Donna Duffy, and I reside at 1616 Sapphire. And I'm here to address a concern I have about the new striping on B Street. So I went back to look at it before the meeting today, and I call myself a pretty astute driver, and I've been driving this route. Now my mom's house has been here for 15 years, so I know a lot of you, but I've been driving in on Winton Parkway for about 15 years. And northbound on B Street, to my knowledge, until tonight, I did not realize that is a bike lane on the far right side. Everyone uses it as a second lane. And it's a bike lane, but then it goes into dashed lines to turn into Rancho San Miguel, and then it's a bike lane again. So really challenging because everybody uses that as a second lane there. And I almost got hit by somebody coming out of Rancho San Miguel because I thought that was a second lane. And they were coming out, and they thought the double dash lines meant they should turn right. That striping northbound, something either needs to be enforced or we got to have better signs. The only signs there says bike lane, and then there's a bike in the middle of the lane. I mean, I literally saw it tonight for the first time. Coming the other way, whole worse situation. There is really two lanes and a bike lane. As you come up Winton Parkway, you have the first driveway, then you get a sign that says speed check by radar ahead, and there's a little 35 sign that says ahead. And then about 100 feet later, there's a sign that says 35 miles an hour. And right with that is a yellow sign that says through traffic merge left. So that's basically where you're trying to tell people that that's the right lane to turn right, but there's a bike lane there. Then at the canal, all of a sudden there's 4 signs, like the first one says, right lane must turn right. It's a yellow sign. The second one says, begin right turn lane. And right beyond that says bike lane ends, but there's no place for those bikes to go. I mean, it just stops.
Ms. Duffy, 30 seconds.
Okay. And then it says right lane must turn right. I believe the council or someone needs to address either enforcement of the signage or tell me how, if I'm going 35 miles an hour, I know that in about 150 feet that's the lane I'm supposed to be in to turn right to Briarwood.
Thank you, Ms. Duffy. Mr. Ramirez, you wish to respond?
Yes. Well, thank you again for bringing this to us, and we will certainly look at that. So again, we very much appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else from the audience? If not, the citizen comment portion is now closed. We will now go to consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial, will be enacted by one vote unless separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or city manager requests a specific item be removed. Does council wish to pull any item for individual discussion? If not, then I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Aguilar. I'm sorry.
Garcia.
Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Okay, roll call. Councilmember Baptista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, item 8, this is the resolution of the City Council, City of Livingston, increasing the budget to appropriate $83,785 of the Home Program Income Fund unappropriated fund balance for fiscal year 2018-2019. Mr. Grant, see you moving forward there.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, the item before you today is a request to appropriate money that came in as the result of a payoff of a loan made through the Home Investment Partnership Program, or HOME. And when those loans are repaid, those are referred to as program income. We must continue to use them for loans for rehabilitation. This money came in after the budget was adopted, and so in order for us to turn it around and make another loan for rehabilitation, we need to get it appropriated. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions for Mr. Grant? If not, this item is now open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to discuss this item? I don't see anybody coming forward. This item is now closed to the public. Council, further discussion? If not, I will now entertain a motion at this time. Does anybody wish to make a motion? Might as well.
I'll make motion to approve the following resolution for the city of Livingston to increase the budget to appropriate $83,785,000 of the Home Program Income Fund and appropriated fund balance for fiscal year 2018-2019.
I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilmember Kang. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista? Yes. Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, moving on to the next item is a resolution accepting the bid for Unified Field Service quote for the tank rehabilitation project, and I will let Mr. Gavea. No, I knew that one. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is another project that the city is going to have done, and it's basically rehabbing the million-gallon tank at the southeast corner of the city. So we did put out some plans and specs and received 5 bids, and the low bid was $440,000. The engineer's estimate was $495,000, and we're recommending that the city award to Unified Field Service. That's the low bidder.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions?
No question, just a comment. I'm glad to see there was several bids came in, and I'm glad to see that we went with the most affordable option.
Right.
Thank you. Council, any further comments? Discussion? To me, I remember on this tank, when we originally put it in there, it cost about $750,000. And I know it was approved in 3 minutes, so let's see how long it takes to approve the rehabilitation.
Yeah, it would be a lot more if you built it now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It would be a lot more, I know that. So this item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to comment on this item? And by now, we know the routine. Please state your name and address for the record, and 3 minutes.
Catherine Shaw Rodriguez, P.O. Box 163. I noticed, what I did notice in the staff report is that it says that the dollars will be covered 100% from the Water Capital Fund. Mm-hmm. The part that the staff report doesn't bring out is that in May 2012, when we did the contract for the Phase 2 waterline improvement project, the city used up all of the monies in the water capital account that was not related to the TCP settlement. I know because I checked the balance sheet. So my question is, Are we going to be borrowing from this TCP fund settlement and then putting it back in at a later date? Or are we hoping to get other financing to cover this amount?
Good question once again. So, Mr. Ramirez? Or Mr. Grant, whoever wants to tag team this one?
I believe that it was from, not
Yeah.
TCP funds, but I don't know for sure. Maybe Brad. has the
Mr.
answer
Grant?
for that.
Well, I know Michelle has a really sharp pencil, so I don't believe it's out of the TCP, but we'll double check it because there's been money that has come in since that time that would cover this. I know when we put the budget together for, I think it was $600,000, it wasn't out of the TCP piece, but we'll double check it for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can.
We can do that.
Yeah, very good question.
Ms. Rodriguez, we'll get that number to you.
Yes, and for the public's reassurance, any money that we pull out from the TCP fund, there's always an IOU back to that same pot because we want that money to be used for that intended purpose, as we said from day one.
Yeah. And just for it, I know some folks don't know, but that TCP money is not. It is a self-restriction we put on there. It was not really a restriction when we got the money in a lawsuit with DuPont and Shell. So it was a self-imposed restriction, not necessarily a restriction from the lawsuit. But we will follow that for TCP only. Mr. Webb, you have further? No, you came back, so I thought maybe you had further comment.
No, I have no further comment.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else from the audience wish to comment on this item? It is $440,000 of your money. I guess not. Okay, we're bringing back to the council for the discussion or entertain a motion at this time. Go ahead. Come on, you want to spend $440,000? Come on. Does anybody wish to make a?
Want to do that? I'll make a motion accepting the bid from Unified Field Service Corporation for the tank rehabilitation project.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Aguilar. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Garcia. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, last item, council. This is to appoint 2 city council liaisons to the Utility Stakeholders Committee.
Yay, I'm sure that you guys are really anxious to be appointed, so looking forward to having you on the 22nd next week at 5:30 here in this room. One thing I assure you, you're going to be super educated on water resource management in all aspects, so you'll learn a lot.
Okay, that is a good point. If you want to get educated on water and all that, this is a good place to be. So, first of all, let me ask for, does anybody want to volunteer?
You want to take straws?
I realize this isn't as exciting as the recreation, but it is a vital function. Huh? It is very, very vital, you know. So does anybody wish to volunteer at this time?
I'll volunteer.
Yeah, all right, Mayor Pro Tem. Yay. Do we have anybody else that wants to volunteer so we can nominate that person?
So I just wanted to share that, of course, other council members can go to the meeting. They just they won't be part of the voting process and you know, things of that nature. But everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer.
There you go. You know, this was good because usually the mayor pro tems or the vice mayors attend these kind of things, not the mayor, so I'm glad that you volunteered. The mayor's supposed to attend ribbon cuttings and the mayor pro tem's supposed to go to the funerals, you know, so we do have volunteers, but we do need someone to appoint them. So does anybody wish to appoint Councilmember Aguilar and Mayor Pro Tem Garcia to the liaisons for the stakeholders? I will make a motion to appoint those two. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second. May I have a roll call, please?
Okay, roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay, just so you know, the reason I didn't want to get into it because I've been on it for a while. I think we need to bring in new members so they can get educated as well. I've been on it for some time. So you got to bring everybody along board so they have a better understanding. So council, any further business? If not, we are in adjournment at 8:55.